The order came through our comms at 347 hours, and for the first time in my military career, I watched a room full of Navy SEALs go completely silent. Not from enemy fire, not from explosions, but from 3 simple words that would haunt us forever. Let her talk. Before we dive in, tell us where in the world are you watching from? If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow's episode is truly mind-blowing. Let's get started. I'm Commander Jake Sullivan. 15 years with the teams, more missions than I care to count, and I've seen things that would break most people. But nothing prepared me for what happened that night in 2019, during what was supposed to be my final deployment before retirement. You think you know what courage looks like in combat. You think it's about charging through gunfire or making split-second tactical decisions under pressure. I thought I knew too, until I met a 19-year-old girl named Zara, who taught me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop running and listen. This story isn't about the firefight that followed, though we'll get to that. It's not about the medals or commendations that came after. This is about the moment when everything I'd been trained to do as a soldier collided with everything I believed as a human being. It's about the 3 words that changed how I see leadership, warfare, and what it really means to serve. My team that night included my closest friend Diego Restrepo, a sergeant first class who'd been by my side through 4 deployments. Diego was the kind of operator who could clear a room with surgical precision and then help his daughter with her homework over video chat 20 minutes later. The other 4 guys on our squad were all seasoned professionals, men I'd trust with my life without hesitation. We were 48 hours away from wrapping up a routine deployment. Everyone was already mentally packing their bags, making plans for leave, talking about getting home to their families. I had a promise to keep to my wife Nora and our 2 kids. I'd told them this was my last tour, that Dad was coming home for good this time. But sometimes the most important missions aren't the ones you plan for. Sometimes they find you in the middle of what should have been an ordinary Tuesday night, when a young woman's desperate voice cuts through your tactical communications and forces you to choose between everything you've been trained to do and everything you know is right. What happened in that compound didn't just change the course of our mission. It changed how I understand what it means to be a protector, a leader, and ultimately, a human being in the middle of humanity's darkest moments. The girl we found that night wasn't just another civilian casualty or intelligence asset. She was someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone whose story mattered more than any tactical manual could account for. And when command told us to move fast and extract immediately, when every fiber of my military training screamed that we needed to prioritize the mission and get out, I made a decision that went against everything I'd been taught. I looked at my team. I looked at this terrified young woman who was barely older than some of our own children back home, and I realized that sometimes being a good soldier means being a good person first. Let me paint you the picture of who I was before that night changed everything. Commander Jake Sullivan, married to my college sweetheart Nora for 12 years, father to 2 incredible kids who thought their dad was some kind of superhero. I'd built my entire identity around being the guy who could handle anything, solve any problem, lead any team through the impossible. This was March 2019, my 5th and final deployment. I'd already signed the paperwork to transition out of active duty and into defense contracting. Nora had been patient through years of missed birthdays and Christmas mornings, but we'd reached that point where my family needed me home more than the Navy needed me overseas. I was ready to trade my tactical gear for soccer practices and school plays. My team that night was SEAL Team 7's Bravo Squad, guys I'd been operating with for 3 years straight. Diego Restrepo was my second in command and closest friend in the military. We'd saved each other's lives more times than either of us kept count. He had an 8-year-old daughter named Sophia who'd started calling me Uncle Jake, and he never missed her Tuesday night video calls no matter where we were in the world. The other 4 operators were all solid professionals. We functioned like a machine, each man knowing exactly what the others would do before they did it. After hundreds of missions together, we communicated more through glances and hand signals than actual words. We trusted each other completely. The mission briefing had been routine. Intelligence indicated an abandoned compound 12 clicks outside the city that might contain a weapons cache. Satellite surveillance showed no movement for 3 weeks. Thermal imaging was clean. Local informants confirmed the area was empty. Everything pointed to a straightforward in-and-out operation. We were treating it like any other Tuesday night sweep. Diego was already planning to call Sofia after we got back to base. Our demolitions expert was joking about the care package his mom had sent. Our communications specialist was showing everyone pictures from his brother's wedding. None of us had any idea we were walking into a situation that would test everything we believed about duty, honor, and what it really means to serve. None of us knew that in a few hours I'd be making a decision that would either save lives or get my entire team killed. 22 minutes into what should have been a routine sweep, everything went sideways. We'd cleared the first floor methodically, finding nothing but empty rooms and dust. Standard abandoned building stuff. Then Diego's voice crackled through our comms from the back room upstairs. "Sullivan, you need to see this now." I found him standing in a doorway, weapon lowered, staring into what looked like a makeshift prison cell. Zara Khoury was huddled in the corner, wrists zip-tied behind her back, clothing torn, eyes wide with terror. She couldn't have been older than 19. The smell of fear and human waste hit me immediately. Our translator, Corpsman Rodriguez, knelt down and spoke to her in Arabic. Her response came in rapid, panicked bursts. She says they took her 4 days ago from her village. She's been here the whole time, says there are men coming back tonight. That's when our communications specialist picked up the enemy radio chatter. Multiple vehicles, at least 15 hostiles moving toward our position. ETA 12 minutes, maybe less. We'd walked into a trap, and now we had a traumatized civilian who could barely walk, let alone move tactically. I looked at Diego, and I could see him doing the math in his head. The same math I was doing. Standard extraction protocols demanded we move immediately. Every second we delayed increased our risk exponentially. Carrying Zara would slow us down, make us vulnerable, potentially compromise the entire team. "Boss," Diego said quietly, "we need to move. Now." But Zara was trying to tell us something urgent. Rodriguez kept translating fragments. She says she heard them planning something big. Multiple targets. American soldiers. She keeps saying 3 places, many men die. My training screamed one thing. Extract immediately. Call in the intelligence from a safe location. Let the analysts sort it out later. But looking at this girl, seeing the desperation in her eyes, I realized she wasn't just a complication to our mission. She was the mission. "Sir," my communications guy interrupted. "Enemy forces 8 minutes out. We need to decide right now." The weight of command had never felt heavier. 6 American lives in my hands, plus 1 terrified girl who might hold information that could save dozens more. I made the call that went against every tactical manual I'd ever studied. "We're not leaving her, and we're not rushing this. Set up a defensive perimeter. We're going to let her talk." Diego's face went pale. "Jake, they'll be here in 6 minutes. We can't hold this position against 15 hostiles. Then we better make those 6 minutes count." I was already stripping off my tactical vest, setting down my rifle. Sometimes you have to stop being a soldier and start being a human being. I knelt down next to Zara, making myself as non-threatening as possible. She flinched when I moved closer, but I kept my hands visible, my voice calm. "Zara, my name is Jake. We're Americans." "You're safe now, but I need you to help me understand what you heard." Rodriguez translated, but I could see in her eyes that she understood more English than she was letting on. Smart girl. Staying quiet had probably kept her alive. My team moved with practiced efficiency, turning windows into firing positions, checking ammunition, preparing for a fight we probably couldn't win. But nobody questioned the order. That's what 15 years of building trust gets you. I radioed our commanding officer. "Overwatch, this is Bravo 7. We've got a civilian with critical intelligence. Requesting extended extraction time. Negative, Bravo 7, extract immediately." That's an order. This was it. Career-ending decision time. "Sir, respectfully requesting permission to let her talk. She has actionable intelligence on imminent attacks against American forces." The radio went silent for 30 seconds that felt like 30 years. Finally, "Bravo 7, you have 10 minutes. Make them count." Zara was watching me intently. I think she understood exactly what I'd just risked for her. I took her hands gently, careful of the zip tie marks on her wrists. "Zara, I know you're scared, but right now you might be the only person who can save a lot of American soldiers. Can you help us?" She looked into my eyes, took a shaky breath, and started talking. Not in Arabic this time, but in broken, heavily accented English. 3 bases. Tomorrow night. Many, many men die if you no stop them. Zara's words came tumbling out in a mix of English and Arabic, Rodriguez translating the parts she couldn't manage. What she told us changed everything we thought we knew about our mission. They take me because I clean offices at night. I hear them plan big attack. 3 American bases, all same time tomorrow. They have maps, they have inside help, they know exactly where soldiers sleep. She described Fob Lightning, Fob Thunder, and Camp Resolute, 3 forward operating bases housing over 600 American service members. The attack was coordinated down to the minute. Truck bombs at the main gates followed by infantry assaults during the shift change, when security would be most vulnerable. I draw maps for you, Zara said, her hands shaking as Rodriguez handed her paper and pen. Her drawings were detailed, accurate. She'd been forced to listen to weeks of planning while they decided what to do with her. That's when the first gunshots cracked through the night air. My team was already returning fire from defensive positions. Contact front. Multiple vehicles approaching. Sir, we need to move now. Diego's voice was urgent but controlled. But Zara wasn't finished. She grabbed my arm with surprising strength. The man who helps them, he wear American uniform. He give them schedule, tell them when guards change. I see his face. She described a sergeant from Camp Resolute's security detail, someone on the inside feeding intelligence to the enemy. Without that information, even if we stopped the truck bombs, the inside man could still facilitate attacks. Zara, can you identify him from photographs? Yes. I remember everything. They make me watch, make me listen. They say I witnessed their victory before they kill me. The gunfire was getting closer. My communications specialist was calling in close air support, but we were running out of time. Boss, 30 seconds to extraction point or we're not making it out. I looked at this brave girl who'd just handed us intelligence worth more than any weapons cache. She'd given us the keys to saving hundreds of lives, including the names and locations of 3 separate terrorist cells. Zara, you're coming home with us. You've earned it. As we moved toward extraction under covering fire, she squeezed my hand and said clearly, "Thank you for listening to me like I am person, not problem." The intelligence Zara provided that night prevented one of the largest coordinated attacks on American forces in that theater. All 3 truck bombs were intercepted before reaching their targets. The inside collaborator was arrested within hours. Conservative estimates put the lives saved at over 200 American service members, plus countless Iraqi civilians who would have been caught in the crossfire. But the numbers don't tell the real story. 3 weeks later, I got a video call from Sergeant Martinez at Fob Lightning. His 8-month-old daughter had just taken her first steps, and he was there to see it because Zara had the courage to speak, and I had decided to listen. Zara was granted asylum in the United States, and now works as a refugee advocate in Michigan. She's finishing her degree in international relations and speaks at military academies about the importance of protecting civilian sources. We stay in touch regularly. She calls me Uncle Jake, just like Diego's daughter does. Diego pulled me aside after our debrief and said something I'll never forget. That night I learned the difference between following orders and following your conscience. Both matter, but sometimes conscience has to lead the way. The phrase "let her talk" became unofficial doctrine in our unit. It represented something bigger than tactical procedures. It meant remembering that behind every mission, every objective, every strategic goal, there are real human beings whose stories matter. I retired from active duty as planned, but that night changed how I understand leadership completely. Real courage isn't just about what you're willing to fight for. It's about what you're willing to slow down for, even when everything inside you screams to move faster. Sometimes the most important intelligence comes not from satellites or intercepted communications, but from simply treating people with dignity and giving them space to be heard. Sometimes saving lives means taking the time to see a person instead of just a problem. If this story reminded you why we serve and who we're really fighting to protect, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories from those who've been there. Because every veteran has stories worth hearing, and every story has lessons worth learning.